Alright, according to Urban Dictionary, the definition of brand loyalty is the extent of the faithfulness of consumers to a particular brand, aka name, expressed through their repeat purchases, irrespective of the marketing pressure generated by the competing brands, aka other names. Now, I understand that this is Urban Dictionary. It's not a proper dictionary, but it also likely has the best definition for brand loyalty. This is because everyone else wants to have some specific or general or surgical definition of what brand loyalty is, and Urban Dictionary is just like, no, we're just going to tell you what it is. And they actually add a few more words in there that I'm not saying because I don't want to. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with your bedroom. Now, that said, what benefit does it actually provide you? Even if someone's willing to come back to you, it's like, well, if you just made a really good product, they'd come to you anyways. Well, that's assuming an awful lot when your product has to be unique every time, also known as everything in the entertainment industry. Yeah, get off my back. I know it's not everything in the entertainment industry, but I'm not dealing with things that are the same thing 500 times. So when you're trying to build up a franchise, which can't be the same thing 500 times usually, brand loyalty is very important because it means that if you have one lackluster showing, it's still going to sell out very well. The infamous example for this one is Solo, a Star Wars movie, being the first Star Wars movie to actually flop. Everything else in Star Wars that was considered a quote-unquote flop was still a success. Every other product made money. Solo was the first one to lose money. This is suspiciously happening immediately after Episode 8, which spent its entire runtime destroying its legacy. So in this regard, it makes Star Wars a very useful product for looking at the benefits of brand loyalty and the detriments of losing it. You see, before the sequel trilogy, you had the prequel trilogy. And there was a huge fight over whether or not the prequels were actual Star Wars. But A, they were made by George Lucas, and B, still told a coherent story. And C, that story did not actively conflict with the original trilogy. So what this means is that whether you like the prequels or the originals, neither set of episodes would destroy your view of the other one. The grand fight was just that the framing of episodes 4, 5, and 6 changed from being Luke's story of hero to Anakin's story of redemption. And, alright, I kind of get that. So this gives you an overall plot line where, regardless of what you do, if you slap Star Wars on it and it's from the prequels or the sequels, the fans of whichever series can still enjoy that product, and if they just particularly hate the other one, they can just ignore those. They can have loyalty to their products because the rest of the series does not conflict unto itself. This does not hold true in the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy starts by undoing all of the progress from Episode 6 to reset everything back to Episode 4. This means that if you like the original trilogy, you now feel like it was useless. Like everything Luke did is no more. It's gone. He failed. Despite ending on a happy note with an open-ended situation where you can have books on books in the EU describing his further exciting adventures, all of that is dashed. All of that is gone. So now anyone who sees Episode 8 can't watch Episode 6 with the same optimism. Because they know now that Luke will become bitter and hateful. And that's devastating to your brand loyalty. Because everyone who liked Luke Skywalker hates the sequel trilogy. And it has almost nothing to do with the quality of the sequel trilogy movies. It is almost exclusively because it turns Luke Skywalker, their hero, into a bitter, defeated old man. So now you get what's almost the opposite, which is brand unloyalty, where they will not buy your product no matter what you do. And unfortunately, This seems to be a running theme with a large number of currently produced Star Wars projects, where they take old characters and they make them lesser versions of themselves, if they're even recognizable as themselves. This has resulted in fans that would previously have bought everything you sold, taking a look at your upcoming projects and saying, who are they gonna ruin this time? Which character that I used to love am I never gonna be able to see the same again? And frankly, this is a conundrum which is easily resolved. Easily. And it's called maintaining your character's consistency. All you have to do is know the characters that have existed, that are extremely popular, with well-developed backgrounds, and just don't rapidly change them. It isn't that a character can't change. It isn't that you couldn't make Luke into an angry old man, bitter at his defeats. But you have to do it correctly. It has to be something that's brought upon him by the story, not by an outside director saying, well, we skipped a bunch of years, we need to rewind everything to episode 4. So in order to do that, Luke can't be optimistic. He can't be in the picture. He has to have run away and not existed anymore. And yes, I know that wasn't J.J. Abrams' original plan, but, well, he didn't make episode 8. We kind of have to live with what episode 8 did. So all of this leads up to a quote from Kathleen Kennedy, which, here you go. And I think it offers just tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start with something fresh. Because we culminated with what George Lucas was creating, and now we take all of that and move it to the next chapter. See, every company builds up a reputation. Every franchise builds a reputation. And right now, Disney Lucasfilm has a reputation of looking to the past and saying, how can we make that worse so that you like our current characters? And this means that that statement is not taken with optimism. It isn't taken in saying, hey, you had episode 6, you made the sequel trilogy, and you're like, all right, great, we had an awesome time. We're going to take that, we're going to go forward, we're going to continue and make Star Wars. No, that statement reads to the original trilogy fans and the prequel trilogy fans that Disney Lucasfilm is now no longer making Star Wars and instead making something else and putting the Star Wars name on it. See, brand loyalty is extremely useful for having staying power. It's what kept George Lucas having income for decades, despite making 6 movies and just kind of rubber stamping other books. But that loyalty remains in at least part. No matter what Disney Lucasfilm puts out, people can still go back to those old books and read them and say, this is what I love. And that means you now have 2 conflicting brands in the same name. You have George Lucas Star Wars and you have Disney Star Wars. And they are not acting in concert. They are not harmonious. So for every project Disney Star Wars puts out that doesn't adhere to George Lucas Star Wars, it will only create conflict until the older fan base dies. So, in summary, brand loyalty is extremely useful to have long-term staying power. If you want to be able to have a franchise that sticks around, brand loyalty is what you need above and beyond any one movie. But if you're going to consistently play with your rules, if you want to change a lot of things, you don't want brand loyalty, because that brand loyalty will turn against you. Viewers who liked previous products will not like future ones. That has happened to Star Wars. It's happened to Indiana Jones. It is an ongoing problem for Marvel. The previous brand loyalty is not holding through, and attempting to supplant it is causing more problems than it could ever hope to solve. Well, that'll be it from me tonight. Y'all have a good night.